And here we are at the beautiful downtown Acton establishment of
Tommy's Grill and Bar, 28 Mill Street East. And yeah, we're in here celebrating Halloween. They've got it all decorated up and it's looking all spooky.
Yeah, we're of course the Air Radio Network, and we operate FM108.ca and RadioGTA.ca. We have our own YouTube channel where we just turn the microphone on and the video once a week and have some fun with the three of us. Leah Lywood, of course, is our producer and our webmaster.
Yes.
And she is
new website coming on our community page, so that's very cool.
And I don't know what this guy's name is here. What's his name here? This guy here.
Dave.
Dave. We'll call him Dave. Call him Dave. And welcome to the show. We're brought to you by Tourism Victoria, BC. Of course, a beautiful place to watch the whales. Actually.
Yes.
That's in Sydney. I got a buddy in Sydney who just loves watching the whales.
Love the salmon out there as well.
And a beautiful town too, Victoria. It's right on the southern tip of Vancouver Island. If you're looking across the world to come to Canada for a vacation. And I guess we'll do the news briefly.
We normally do. Big Daddy Russ Horton and Hamley Lake and Leah Lywood, like you said. And yeah, we'll get through the news first and get to the fun part of Leah's trivia.
Yeah, that's the fun stuff that we do. See, the House of Commons unanimously agrees to describe residential schools as genocide.
Duh.
What gave you that idea? You know what I mean? It's right there in black and white. Elon Musk taking control of Twitter, fired the two top executives.
This is going to be an interesting whole scenario going on.
He's going to change the
the whole platform there.
I think it's awesome.
And finally, before I pass over to you, the world faces the most dangerous decade since World War II, according to Putin, with more of his rhetoric or whatever.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Verbal diarrhea, maybe.
Yeah.
I think is the best way. Quebec Separatist Party calls for a split with British monarchy. This guy, the crypto king, nearly arrested twice after refusing to hand over a diamond and studded Rolex and an Audi kept in a bankruptcy proceeding. Can't do that, buddy.
Yeah.
Bank of Canada says the economy will stall amid a rate hike, but skirts recessions calls. So, yeah.
And Leslie Jordan dies, the guy from Will and Grace. They say that it was a medical emergency. He ran into the side of a building.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Different kind of medical emergency I've ever heard of.
And Rishi Sunak calls for stability and unity as he wins the contest for the Prime Minister of England.
Yeah.
Or the UK, pardon me, not England, but the United Kingdom. So he's the new Prime Minister. Apparently a lot of people are not happy about that because he wasn't voted in any way.
That's right.
And
he was put in by default.
Yeah. And Phil Kessel.
Yes, the Iron Man.
Yeah, he celebrated the NHL Ironman record by scoring his 400th career goal, and the Vegas Golden Knights beat San Jose 4-2 Tuesday night, and some of that was taken care of with the Leafs.
The Leafs.
Yeah,
he tied in that game, and then the next night he took the Ironman status. And he started that status. I was watching TSN last night, and he started that status with the Leafs.
Yeah.
With the Leafs.
Yeah.
So.
We're proud of him, and I got kind of missed.
I have a Phil Kessel shirt, so I loved him when he was with the team, and I was a little sad to see him go. At the time, I think they should have traded Pylon Phaneuf, but
Phaneuf, I remember him.
Yeah.
Enough of Phaneuf.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, when they traded Kessel, I was a bit bummed out, but he's had a great career, man.
World Series starts tonight.
Yeah.
Phillies and those hated Houston Astros, unless you live in metropolitan Houston.
Yeah.
No one can stand them because they're always thought of as cheaters.
My cousin that I live with, Todd, his parents live in Houston, so they were trying to do a Zoom call the other night. Well, the final game was on for the World Series. His dad's like, no, we'll do the call tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow. They kept delaying, right? So, like you said, Houston people, you're okay. But
well, Ryan, who does our 60s at 6 at FM 108, he's a big Phillies fan. I got a lot of friends down in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I don't have any friends in Houston, so I'm going for the Phillies just because they're the Cinderella team too.
That too.
And those Philly fans are awesome fans. They really are, and they deserve it because guess who beat the Phillies in '93? We did, the Jays, right? So. And my buddies down in Philly are always reminding me of that. You stole the World Series from us. It's like, okay, here, you can have this one.
You can take this one.
And let's hope that...
All right, now we get into the fun bit.
Yeah, and Leah's trivia, of course, and Leah puts a lot of work into her Facebook posts every day on our media platforms. This is the most fun we have all week, as a matter of fact. You want me to start?
Yeah, absolutely.
1989, John Bon Jovi and his girlfriend were arrested after being caught skating at 3:30 a.m. at New York City's Woolman skating rink.
Yeah.
So,
isn't that what it's
what are you in here for? Well, I got caught skating at a skating rink there after hours.
Yeah, there's a tough guy image you need right there.
Do you know what Carl Wilson of the Beach Boys' first job was? He was a gas station attendant. There you go.
Hey, we all got to start somewhere.
And I'll do this one too. 1957, this week, police in Oakland, California informed Elvis Presley that he is not allowed to swivel his hips on stage in the performance at the Oakland Auditorium. Elvis responds by sarcastically wiggling only his little finger when singing, and the cops filmed the show anyway, just in case. But that's Elvis was always in the middle of something back then in the 50s.
There was always some kind of controversy when it came to just any of his body movements.
Well, it was a different time, you know,
Sure
and Elvis was. I mean, you didn't see Sinatra doing that.
No.
You didn't see Bing Crosby doing that. All of a sudden, there's this guy from Mississippi doing that.
Yeah.
And when he was on tour with, I think it was Hank Williams, Hank actually fired him because he couldn't put up with the gyrating hips. Did Hank know what was on the way? No.
Not just that, he upstaged him.
Yeah.
You know, the crowd went crazy for Elvis, but not for him, right? So how do you follow an act like that? Right? Like I've had to do that. We played at a series of shows where, you know, there's 3 or 4 bands, and then our band has to get up behind this band that just absolutely rocked the place.
Okay. How do you follow something like that, you know?
1958, the first rock concert in Germany is held in Berlin, and it doesn't go well as agitated youth fight during the performance by Bill Haley and the Comets. By the time the police clear the Berlin Sportsplatz, where the concert's held, 5 policemen and 6 audience members are seriously injured. So.
Yeah, they were rough times, and that's where the Beatles grew in Hamburg, and Germany's a wild place in the 50s and 60s. And they were so far ahead of the rest of the world, really, in what they listened to in Germany. They were ready for Bill Haley, whereas the Brits weren't really.
No.
I mean, they're a little bit behind them. And that's where the Beatles cut their teeth and became such a rockin' band, is they played those seedy nightclubs in Hamburg, man, and they used to have beer bottles flying by their head while they're playing their stuff. And you got to admire them for that, because they paid their dues, man, I'll tell you. In 1968, this week, the Bee Gees had their second UK #1 single, I've Got to Get a Message to You. Remember that? Great song. The song is about a man who, awaiting his execution in the electric chair, begs the prison chaplain to pass a final message on to his wife. And that was what that song was all about. And if you listen to the lyrics, you know, some songs just go by you, but then when you find out what they really are all about, it's... and then Ian Hunter, Mott the Hoople, his first gig was with Buddy Holly at Leicester de Montfort Hall in England.
Right on.
And this week in 1968.
Mott the
Imagine,
Hoople. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Oh yeah. Mott the Hoople are huge in the UK.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, huge.
A little bit of a long one here, but 1965, Queen Elizabeth invested the Beatles with their MBEs at Buckingham Palace in London. According to an account by John Lennon, the group smoked marijuana in one of the palace's bathrooms to calm their nerves. George Harrison said it was just tobacco.
Can you imagine smoking weed in Buckingham Palace?
Harrison and Paul McCartney put the awards on their jackets for the Sgt. Pepper album cover. Lennon sends his back in 1969. Many former recipients gave their MBEs back in protest, to which John Lennon responded, lots of people who complained about us receiving the MBE received theirs for heroism in war, for killing people. He continued on, we received ours for entertaining other people. I'd say we deserve ours more.
I'd say I agree.
I tend to agree.
John Lennon was a smart guy. 1970, a wake was held at the Lion's Share in San Anselmo, California, to celebrate the life of Janis Joplin. The singer, who died of an accidental drug overdose, left $2,500 in her will to throw a wake party in the event of her demise. The party was attended by her sister Laura and Joplin's close friends. Brownies laced with hashish were unknowingly passed around amongst the guests. Joplin was cremated in the Pierce Brothers Westwood Village mortuary in Los Angeles. Her ashes were scattered from a plane into the Pacific Ocean and along Stinson Beach. So she threw a big party for everyone after her death.
And the price tag apparently was $1,600.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wow.
That's funny. 2010, former Culture Club vocalist Boy George stunned an audience in London after reportedly flying into a rage and tossing his drink on a woman who was talking during his show. Before emptying his glass on her from the stage, George was heard shouting, "Why don't you shut the fuck up, you rude C word?"
Yeah, don't say the C word, for God's sake. They'll make my...
And, that
George has quite a temper.
I can believe it.
Down east, he's known as George Bay.
George Bay.
And he's regularly Boy George, but a talented musician. You know, he's come out with a few songs in the last couple of years, or couple of albums. He's not a bad musician, and he's covered some old tunes that...
Just a quirky dude.
Well, you know, everybody's got to have that hook, and that was their hook. But their songs weren't bad. I have a buddy that jumped out of a moving car because somebody played Karma Chameleon in it. But, you know, that's their personal opinion.
That's right. And personal stupidity.
But their first hit, what was their first hit? Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? That wasn't a bad song. I heard that, and then I looked what they were, and it was like, oh, wow. And then, of course, hey, how many millions did he make?
Oh.
Come on, man. He was one of the biggest stars in the early 80s in music. And but you don't go around saying stuff like that at live events. You know what I mean? In 2010, the results of Ozzy Osbourne's genome sequences are revealed. The study shows that Ozzy has a very high predisposition for alcohol and cocaine addiction, and he was partly descended from Neanderthals. And this is what Ozzy was quoted as saying in return. On his debut, did you know that on his debut album, Prince played 27 different instruments?
Yeah.
That guy was amazing.
The guy was so talented, and the amount of music he wrote, I've said this in previous videos, the amount of music he wrote that you guys don't even know he wrote it, the list is huge, absolutely huge. This was interesting, I didn't know this when I saw this week. Nick Mason from Pink Floyd, his first gig was with Tommy Steele back in 1956.
A long time ago.
Long time ago.
And talk about two genres of music meeting right there, the pop and the rock.
And then first jobs here, John Bon Jovi's first job, he's flipping burgers at a Burger King.
See,
So we all got to start somewhere.
That's their regular people, just like they put their pants on one leg at a time, like we do. A little bit of history and trivia.
From the Stones here,
in 1961, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, who haven't seen each other since primary school, run into each other at the Dartford train station in England. Keith is on his way to Sidcup Art College. Mick Jagger is headed to the London School of Economics. Noticing the Muddy Waters and Chuck Berry albums Mick is carrying, Keith strikes up a conversation, and they thought they would start a band by the name of
the Rolling Stones.
By the name of the Rolling Stones. That's how the Stones were born. The Stones were born in a British train station.
Yeah. And then you jump to 1964, and the Rolling Stones appeared for the first time on the Ed Sullivan Show from New York, performing Round and Round and Time Is on My Side. A riot broke out in the studio, prompting Sullivan's infamous quote, "I promise you will never look back on our show, or you will never look back on our show again." The Rolling Stones went on to make 5 further appearances on the Sullivan Show between 65 and 69. So,
yeah, they were, and the Stones and the Beatles, they came out at the same time, but there's always, you're either a Beatle fan or you're a Stones fan.
Yeah.
And I love the Stones, don't get me wrong, but I've been a Beatle guy. But I love the Stones. I mean, I love them both. Can't you love them both?
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
you can't.
Yes, you can.
You have to be one or the other. I hate that. But I love the Beatles.
You always
And
have a favorite.
yeah.
I know. In high school, there was three of us girls that hung around together, and I was Zeppelin, one was Stones, and one was Neil Young.
Yeah.
It's nothing. Well, it's all great. Why do you have to say this is better than this? It's
Exactly.
just enjoy the music the way it comes through.
So we loved all of them.
Yeah.
But
Perfectly
we were
opinion only.
A guy that I really admire was Jeff Healey, who's Canadian.
Oh, I love Jeff. He's a
And
good
it
friend.
was this
Very
week
good
in
friend.
1966, aged 7 months old, Jeff Healey had his right eye surgically removed and subsequently his left eye 4 months later and replaced with artificial ones, necessitated by the form of cancer in the eyes called retinoblastoma, which I believe, I think Mary Tyler Moore had that as well. I'm not sure. She had something wrong with her eye too. 3 years later, Jeff was given his first guitar by his father. At the age of 13, the Canadian guitarist formed his first band, Blue Direction. Nobody could play guitar the way Jeff Healey could.
No, I could hear somebody playing it in another room, and I'd know right away. It's just.
He does such a great version of "While My Guitar Gently
yeah.
Weeps."
Oh, God. And George Harrison plays on it with him.
Does he?
Yeah.
I didn't
George
know
actually
that.
plays on it with him.
I
Very
had no
cool.
idea that was.
1968, the double album Electric Lady and Land by the Jimi Hendrix Experience was released. It was also made available as 2 albums with changed artwork after complaints about the naked women who were pictured on the sleeve. The female models were each paid £5 for the photo shoot and another £5 if they posed completely naked.
There you go. Well, it's
That
just.
was a lot of money.
I don't know where she
£10, man.
finds. I don't know where Leah finds all this stuff from. Amazing. And neither does he, as a matter of fact.
Dave.
Dave, it's Halloween, by the way, and
Yes.
as you can tell from behind here, that the location we're at are having a Halloween party tonight.
Big Halloween bash tonight.
And we wish them well tonight with all that stuff. Here's another first job, Simon LeBon of Duran Duran. Do you know what his first job was? He was a child actor in a Persil commercial on TV.
Wow.
Yes, selling soap.
So, laundry soap.
Laundry soap, yeah.
That's right.
And I guess I'll do the 1964 one, the TAMI show, Teenage Music International Show, concert held this week in 1964 in Santa Barbara, California. Had Chuck Berry on there, the Supremes, the Beach Boys, James Brown, Marvin Gaye, the Rolling Stones, the Miracles, Janet Dean, Leslie Gore, Jerry and the Pacemakers. And the concert's released as a movie later in 1964. I guess so. Look at the people on that show.
Yeah.
The Stones, Chuck Berry, the Supremes, the Beach Boys. I mean, there's no they're all headliners.
Exactly.
You don't have a headliner there. They're all big ones. What's going on in
A
1980?
whole headlining festival. Yeah, in 1980, the Guinness Book of World Records presents Sir Paul McCartney with a special Rodham album for being the best-selling songwriter in the history of music, recorded music, having written 43 platinum songs and sold over 100 million records.
No, it's amazing, huh?
Even if you only made $1 a record, it's $100 million just there alone.
Lennon and McCartney, they wrote so many songs together. It's just incredible when you
And
think
then
about
even
it.
on their own.
And they went through some feuds where they couldn't stand each other for many years. But I think deep down they loved each other as pals. When you take Yoko and all that other crap away,
Out of the picture.
they were the boys, right? And they were the boys. And I think McCartney today misses Johnny. I think he misses Lennon.
Oh God, I'm sure there's
because
some
they were
aspect of
buddies. And but their songwriting is you can't compare it to anybody else. It should have been him and Lennon together, but Lennon's not here anymore. So give it to Paul. Yeah. Here's a wee tidbit. In 1977,
Yeah.
I love this one. In 1977, there were 170 Elvis impersonators. By 2002, there were 85,000.
85,000.
At the rate of growth, by 2019, a third of the world's population will be Elvis impersonators. If they took that, can you imagine that? Yeah. You go to Collingwood.
Thank you very much.
You go to Collingwood, Ontario, in the summertime. For that one weekend where they have,
it's crazy.
and there's Elvis
Been there.
everywhere.
Yeah.
You go into a coffee shop, there's 6 of them over here.
Yeah.
There's 7 of them over here. You go walking down the streets, they're walking toward
Oh
you.
God, yeah, I've been.
It's just you've got to check out the Elvis Festival in Collingwood if you
my
come to Canada.
ex-father-in-law, the first year he entered, he got 3rd place.
Yeah,
Up in Collingwood.
Right.
That's a no small feat, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Madonna, her first gig was with David Bowie at Cobo Arena in Detroit. And I didn't know that.
Didn't know that either. I remember when Madonna came on the scene there in 82, was it?
Somewhere
81,
around
82?
there, yeah. 82,
And
83.
Borderline and Holiday were her two big hits. And I thought, this gal's something special here. And sure enough, she was...
Hell of a career.
She doesn't get along very well with Elton John, but that's okay. Elton has always been a fan of Madonna, but he doesn't like her lip syncing all the time.
Yeah.
He thinks that, and Elton has proved that with his farewell concert. I mean, the guy's incredible still. Still one of my favorites. And Madonna, she was the queen of the '80s. I don't think there was anybody bigger in the '80s than her. Was there? Not on the charts. Madonna was top.
No, she was original. She was unique, and kudos
And she
to her
still
for
is.
everything she did.
She still is, and she's still a great gal, too. In 1961, Dion's Runaround Sue hits #1 for the first 2 weeks. Dion pulled the name Sue out of thin air, but when he later marries a woman named Sue, she tells everyone the song is about her, even though she knows it isn't, okay?
That's funny.
And of course, as we were reminded by, I can't remember who it was that reminded on Facebook, he lives in southern Florida, and he's been in Florida for many years, Dion.
Yeah, I forget.
I forget who it was that somebody reminded us about that. And then the BBC with that.
Yeah. Runs a news report showing shocking and disturbing footage of famine in Ethiopia. And Sir Bob Geldof springs into action, setting up the Band-Aid relief effort, which releases the charity single, Do They Know It's Christmas? A little over a month later, Geldof later organizes Live Aid to assist in relief efforts, and that was a huge, huge concert.
Oh yeah, he and
Geldof
is
that's
raised.
where Queen just took over the stage, that year.
Freddie Mercury, and what a huge record! Do They Know It's Christmas?
Yeah.
It still gets played every year.
Every Christmas.
It's one of the monster mashes of top 40.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's
a good
one
way
of the
putting it.
giant,
Yeah.
but it's the Christmas one.
Yeah.
Probably, White Christmas by Bing Crosby would be the #1, I would think.
I don't think so anymore.
But I think more as we get
Baby,
older.
It's cold outside.
Oh, that-
Still ranks really high.
Yeah.
Bublé is still the #1 selling Christmas album every year.
Do you know what my favorite all-time Christmas song is? Nat King Cole and the Christmas Song. Just an incredible song.
Mine's Bob Seger, Little Drummer Boy.
Yeah.
One of the
there's
best
so many
versions of that is
Jingle Bell Rock is still because of the memory from when I was
kid,
little.
right?
Bobby Helms.
2002
What was it? 2002 here. I'm
or
lost.
2001. Sorry, 2001 Apple.
Apple introduces the
Changes
iPod.
the world.
Yeah, it does. This week in 2001, Apple introduces the iPod, an MP3 player that can hold about 1,000 songs, making digital music portable. Most users fill their devices with songs ripped from their CD collections or downloaded from file sharing sites like Napster. So people became their own radio stations on this day in 2001. And then now there's so many of the young people that don't listen to radio anymore.
No.
They listen to their iPod.
Don't even know how to work a radio. Seriously.
Seriously, yeah.
I got
Spotify's a big one right
Yeah.
now with anybody.
Well, yeah, because you can set up your own playlists and yada yada yada, right? So
That's why online radio is so important, because we're carrying radio into the next generation. And people listen to us now. Will AM or FM still exist? Well, AM doesn't exist at all in parts of Europe now.
it's only
AM
used
is
for
still
emergency broadcasting only. That's it.
and really the technology, as wonderful and as sparkling as it was, and as romantic as those big AM radio stations were at 4 in the morning, and you could hear. There's no need for it anymore because the streaming platform is here.
That's right.
Right, the streaming platform is here. So we don't really need the AM and FM anymore. So it makes you wonder. And if it wasn't for cars, I don't think mainstream radio would survive.
No, it wouldn't.
Because when you get into your house, online radio is #1 and mainstream
Well,
is number 2.
how many houses have an actual radio in them anymore?
And you can hear
A
online
couple
radio.
under 35. even with kids, I guarantee you walk in their home, there's no radio in their home.
You can hear FM 108 in your Bluetooth driving around the backwoods of Australia, or in the
Exactly.
desert, or
long as
or
you have service,
in
you're good.
Ethiopia. You could be anywhere. If you have an internet connection, you can hear us. And you know, the mainstream stations have jumped on. Of course, they have their own streams too, but they're on the same platform as we are now. You know what I mean? Unless we get changes in legislation, which is possible in the years to come. But I see I see radio carrying on, morphing into online radio as being the norm. Even the mainstream will be online.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think you're going to see AM and FM anymore, because you know what? It costs radio stations a fortune in hydro for a 50,000 watt. Can you imagine?
Not just hydro, the transmission costs
Transmission,
everything.
the engineer has to be paid. If radio wants to survive, they have to go smaller.
Yeah.
And
The only way to do that's digital.
that's right.
It's
That's
the only
right.
way to do it.
It's changing everything.
Another wee tidbit. Former Rolling Stone Bill Wyman's an amateur archaeologist and trinket collector, so obsessed with the hobby that he even markets the Bill Wyman signature metal detector.
I didn't know that.
That's pretty cool. Rod Stewart's first gig was with Bill Haley and his Comets at the State in Kilburn, London, when he was only 18 years old.
Stewart played with Bill Haley. Now you see, that blows my mind, because I would have never thought that ever happened. But where did you find that one from? She won't give her sources, eh?
It's probably a good idea,
Some
so
of
that
that
we
stuff.
still keep getting them.
Well, he wasn't singing Maggie May back then, but that would have been in the 50s, I guess. Wasn't it late 50s, early 60s? Because
yeah.
Bill Haley was around in England in the early 60s. He was big in England, man. I'll tell you, Bill Haley, when he went over there,
He was very popular.
oh yeah. Now this week in history, there's Madonna again. Madonna's book Sex is released. Everything about it is shocking. The $50 price, the mylar wrapping, the metal covers, and especially the images inside, of course.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
This big.
Yeah.
I had it.
Yeah.
It was
Oh, it was
no little
huge.
book.
Yeah.
Steve Meisel's photos show the singer naked in various erotic scenes, and a few celebrities show up as well, including Isabella Rossellini, Naomi Campbell, and Vanilla Ice. Everything you are about to see and read is a fantasy, a dream, pretend, Madonna writes in the introduction. So, but she certainly turned some eyes with that
Oh
book.
boy, did she ever, man. That raised a lot of eyebrows.
There were some images I could put on there, but because it's our radio station
No,
page, I
yeah,
thought
that's-
we'll keep it calm.
Yeah, we'll keep
Actually, my heart missed a beat when he was quoting Boy George. I'm going, oh, I hope he doesn't say that word. Yeah.
1956, Elvis Presley visits his favorite local movie theater, the Memphian, and is bested by an adoring crowd who, in the ensuing melee, scratch his new Cadillac.
Oh,
Thus begins Elvis' new habit of renting an entire theater whenever he wants to watch a movie.
can you imagine being that big that you can just say, oh, I want to watch a movie, I want to rent it from 3 to
I
5.
remember seeing it back then, and when Priscilla and him. They
Yeah.
would take her to the movie, and they had the whole theater.
Wow. Love Elvis. Elvis is not alive, by the way. Stop it, people. He's not making cheeseburgers in Michigan.
Even if he,
Right.
even if he did, he still lived. By now, he'd be dead.
Hey, how old would Elvis have been by now? He would have been...
Well, he was 42, wasn't he, when he
when
died?
he died, which is 77. So I'd say he'd be in his 80s
I was
anyway.
gonna say, I think early 80s.
Early 80s, yeah.
He'd be dead.
He's the kind of guy that would have aged well, though. You know, he was such a good-looking
Well, I know
character.
he was, but you know, in the end there, he wasn't looking
Yeah,
so good with the
Well,
weight
that's what I'm
gain
saying.
and
The weight.
the
Well,
other
you know,
issues he
the
was
weight
having.
was self-inflicted. It was.
Well, it doesn't matter. The point is if he didn't change those habits,
Yeah. Well, he was eating, what was it, peanut butter and, what was his favorite sandwich? Peanut butter and something.
Oh, peanut butter and cucumber.
Or something like that,
peanut butter
yeah.
and banana.
And he used to like soda pop. Soda pop's a killer if you're overweight.
Oh God, yeah.
It's not
You know,
healthy.
So it's
And
not healthy for your
so it's not
regard.
only the drugs that took him down, it's the way he,
Yeah.
But that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
his lifestyle.
His
His
habits.
lifestyle.
His
Well, that's what I'm
lifestyle.
saying. His habits.
and he was a big Monty Python fan. He had every movie. Could you imagine watching Monty Python with Elvis? Oh, he does like,
All right, we got to wrap this up.
Keith Moon.
We got to get out of here.
Keith Moon, 1976, played his last show for The Who at the end of a North American tour in Maple
was
Leaf
there.
Gardens in Toronto. and Canada, September 7th, 1978. And Keith, of course, died of an overdose of sedative that had been prescribed to prevent seizures induced by alcohol withdrawal. And much missed, crazy guy, lovable guy, talented guy.
Absolutely.
A guy that really made you go, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. But he was a fun guy.
I stood stage left and watched him play, and I fell in love with the drums.
Absolutely.
I never stopped
Is that what started you? Isn't that magical? Isn't that magical?
I was at that show in '76 at the Gardens, and
we're going to wrap her up here.
It was dynamite. So
we're brought to you by Victoria, Tourism Victoria this week. If you want to check out the whales just off the coast, catch some scenic BC wilderness in Vancouver
Gorgeous
Island,
BC
and if you come to Canada, check out British Columbia, and Victoria especially is just a gorgeous. And of course, a hop over the bay is Vancouver, right there. So we'll see you next week, the same time, same bat channel.
absolutely.
And thank you so much for joining us. And we're in Halton Hills, Ontario, Canada, Canada's hometown, and the
On
home
location at Tommy's Grill and Bar, and great food, great live entertainment.
These guys
here in town.
actually move, and the lights.
I know. It's
Can they see? Can they see all the? Maybe we can move it around before we go.
clowns that they have here.
There we
one
go.
on this side and one on that.
And apparently, you plug these guys in, and they'll move around for you. So we've got a live band. It's Halloween in Canada, folks. Halloween around the world. And remember, if you're out on Halloween night, which is Monday, please drive with care.
Yes,
There's a lot
lots
of
of
kids
kids will
out
be
there.
out.
There's lots of big kids and small kids.
Yes, yeah.
Out there getting chocolate bars and stuff. And you got to remember, kids don't think about stuff like that.
Yeah.
They just run into the road.
Absolutely.
Without thinking. You got to remember that. Please slow down. We don't want any fatalities. All right, we're done. We're finished.
Have yourself a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for watching and tuning in every week. We do appreciate it. For Big Daddy Russ Horton, I'm Lee Lakin, Lee Eliawood. Have yourself a fantastic Halloween and be safe out there.
I'm getting so good at that. I think I'm going to make it an Olympic event.
An Olympic event.
New band member for